Hey everyone, welcome back. Another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about this book, Wisdom of Souls by Michael Newton. It's really fascinating stuff. It explores these experiences that people have in the time between their lives on Earth, based on case studies from the Michael Newton Institute. So let's just jump right in with Bill's story. He really struggled with feelings of loneliness and abandonment, and these feelings, they're really rooted in his childhood. During his regression session, he actually revisited those early experiences. And he had this incredibly powerful vision. He described seeing himself as this form within a bubble. And he was surrounded by just countless other bubbles, right? Each representing a soul, safe and connected. And this vision, it brought him this really profound sense of belonging and peace. And especially when it came to, facing death, he was even able to reconnect with loved ones who had passed before him. And he found a lot of comfort in those connections, before his own passing. It really makes you think about the nature of our souls,
Yeah.
and how they're connected to one another even after death. So next up we had Susan. Susan contracted herpes encephalitis, and unfortunately it resulted in permanent brain damage. And she really struggled to accept her limitations. She really yearned to go back to, her former abilities. But through regression, this really fascinating perspective came out. It seemed like Susan's soul had actually chosen this challenge before birth. She needed to experience these limitations in order to really learn and grow in ways that she couldn't have otherwise. During her session, she was guided to a past life where she was this young, inquisitive slave girl named Kara. And Kara was tragically killed for, asking too many questions. This experience, coupled with the guidance from her spiritual guides, helped Susan to understand that true strength and joy, they can be found in embracing our unique path limitations. And Lynn's story shows us how a health crisis can actually be a turning point in someone's life. So she was trapped in this abusive marriage. And at the same time, she was battling this rare blood disease. And the stress of her situation just amplified her illness, And her husband refused to support her in getting the treatment she needed. It was a really, really difficult time in her life. But thankfully, her sister intervened and encouraged her to leave her husband. And with that support, Lynn was able to access the medical and financial help she needed. And during her regression session, she had this really powerful realization. Her rare blood disease, it wasn't actually part of her soul's original plan for this life. It manifested because she had this pattern of remaining in negative situations for extended periods. She was neglecting her own well-being. So this realization prompted her to really prioritize her well-being and to consciously, seek out positive and supportive environments. Alexa's story, it highlights the power of choosing joy. So her life had been marked by all these different challenges, health challenges, unstable living situations, abuse. It might seem unimaginable to choose to go through hardships like that. But during her regression, her guides revealed that she did. She chose these challenges to learn about vulnerability and ultimately to teach others about it. It's just this really intriguing concept, right? To think that sometimes the people who experience the most difficulty may also have the greatest capacity for healing and inspiring others, Next, we have Meta. She's a single mother battling suicidal thoughts and intense guilt after her husband's death. The weight of her grief was just compounded by the financial strain and the concern for her daughter, who was also showing signs of depression. In her session, Meta reconnected with her soul group. This is a concept described as a group of souls that are deeply connected and dedicated to supporting each other's growth. This connection gave her much-needed support and courage. She was also able to connect with her deceased husband's soul. And this led to a really profound release of the guilt that had been holding her back. It really brings up these questions about the interconnectedness of souls and the potential for healing and forgiveness, even beyond, physical death. Teresa's story explores the idea that our struggles can serve a greater purpose. So she had battled depression since her teenage years, and she was worried about her children who were experiencing similar challenges. Her session revealed that her depression and that of her children might actually be part of a larger plan for their soul's growth. This concept, while challenging to grasp, could offer a sense of purpose to those who struggle. It allowed Teresa and her children to place trust in the larger plan and to lean on the support of their spiritual guides. Now let's explore Ken's experience with depression. He couldn't figure out why he had this persistent low mood, especially since his life seemed outwardly content. So his regression took him back to a past life where he was Arthur. Arthur was a young man living in a village that was attacked by Vikings, and Arthur blamed himself for the death and destruction that followed. He believed he could have warned the villagers sooner. And this unresolved guilt from a past life might have carried into Ken's present life, manifesting as depression. So it really makes you think about how unresolved trauma could potentially echo through lifetimes. shaping our emotional landscape in ways that we may not fully comprehend. By understanding the potential root of his depression, Ken could begin to release those emotions and seek relief. Christine's story introduces the concepts of life, purpose, and soul agreements. Her regression revealed that she came to Earth to learn about human emotions. It's almost as if our souls choose these learning experiences before we're even born. To facilitate her growth, Christine chose a life full of challenges, and her session also touched upon the idea of soul groups and the agreements that we might make with each other before we incarnate. It suggests this really interesting level of collaboration in shaping our life experiences. Carol's story focuses on releasing past life trauma. So in a previous life, she'd been a soldier who made choices that led to the loss of life, and she carried this immense guilt and regret from those actions into her present life. Through her regression, she was able to apologize to the souls of those she had harmed, and she finally released the burden of her past. It makes you think about the lasting impact of our actions, even across lifetimes, and the potential for forgiveness and healing. Gerald wanted to understand his childhood abuse, and he also wanted to learn how to manage his emotions, particularly, given the kind of constant barrage of global tragedies that we see. His session offered a perspective on suffering and its potential role in soul growth. And he was able to see beyond the immediate pain and consider the possibility of a greater purpose behind these really challenging experiences. This perspective, might offer some solace to those who are grappling with difficult life events. So it's amazing to think about these different experiences, right, and how they shape our understanding of life and death and the soul's journey. I think it's something that we can all learn from, and maybe find some comfort in as well. So we'll continue this conversation next time with some more stories from Wisdom of Souls, and I'm looking forward to diving in a little deeper. So till then, take care and keep exploring. Bye for now. So now let's kind of shift our focus a little bit to the complex experience of loving and losing. We'll hear from some people who found a way through grief and discovered healing in their own unique ways. Mayumi, she was grappling with the loss of her child, and she found solace during her session. She was able to view the loss as part of her soul's journey, and she discovered this sense of peace, within her pain. It really makes you wonder, can we find acceptance and peace even in the face of what feels like, unbearable loss? Evelyn wrestled with guilt and anger after her brother took his own life. And through forgiveness, she was able to release those emotions and honor her brother's memory. Makes you think, what is the role of forgiveness in healing from traumatic loss? And how might it help us move forward, Barbara's early life was marked by loss, starting with the deaths of her grandparents and her mother when she was a child. And, these experiences, they created a fear of fully opening her heart, which led to these feelings of loneliness and detachment. Through her session, she gained an understanding of the purpose behind these early losses, and she learned to embrace the joy of love, even with the knowledge that pain might follow. It brings up this really interesting point. Can understanding the role of loss in our lives help us to love more fully and courageously? Gogi's story is about the enduring power of love. She was devastated by the loss of her partner, and she even contemplated suicide. However, her session revealed that she had agreed to experience this profound pain to fulfill a greater purpose. Really highlights, the depth of love and commitment that can exist between souls. Could the depth of our love for another soul lead us to accept even the most difficult experiences? Now let's journey into the world of romantic relationships, with all its complexities and challenges. We'll explore the influences of past lives and the importance of finding equilibrium, within these partnerships. Sharon found herself kind of reliving a pattern from a past life in her current marriage. In both lifetimes, she deeply loved someone who did not reciprocate her feelings, and this repetition, caused her considerable pain. Her session brought awareness to this pattern, and it empowered her to break free from it. So could understanding the influence of past lives help us to make healthier choices in our present relationships. Oliver's story emphasizes the importance of balancing individual needs within a partnership. His intense attachment to his current partner, it stemmed from a past life experience where he was a mother who tragically lost a son. And this trauma, it created a pattern of over-attachment and fear of loss, and it carried into his present relationship. Through his session, Oliver gained awareness of this pattern, and he began working towards a healthier balance, within his partnership. Gracie's experience explored the concept of soul contracts and how they can play out in romantic relationships. She was feeling unfulfilled in her marriage, and she contemplated leaving her husband. Her session revealed that she and her husband had a soul agreement to support each other's awakening to their true selves. And while this realization didn't erase the challenges in their marriage, It did deepen her understanding of their connection, and it gave her renewed purpose in working through their issues. So could a deeper understanding of the agreements we make with our partners help us navigate relationship difficulties with, greater understanding and compassion. Iris and her husband Gabriel were constantly fighting, and they couldn't understand the root of their conflict. Her regression took her back to a past life where she and Gabriel were brothers. And in that life, she had witnessed Gabriel's death, and she carried immense guilt, believing that she could have prevented it. And this unresolved guilt was manifesting as anger in their current relationship. Through understanding the source of their conflict, Iris and Gabriel could approach their relationship with, renewed compassion and work towards healing old wounds. Could it be that unresolved issues from past lives can create, these seemingly inexplicable challenges in our present relationships? Anna's story emphasizes the role of self-love in building healthy relationships. So she had this pattern of attracting abusive partners. And her session revealed that this stems from a past life where she had been severely abused as a child. The trauma from that life created this belief of unworthiness, leading her to, subconsciously seek partners who would reinforce that belief. Through her session, she was able to recognize the origin of this pattern and start healing old wounds, realizing that genuine connection and healthy relationships begin with self-love. So now let's turn our attention to the delicate balance of supporting others without enabling them. Keith had this deep-seated need to please others, and this originated from a past life where he tragically lost his daughter. He carried immense guilt, blaming himself for the accident. And this unresolved trauma, it manifested in his present life as this compulsion to make people happy, often at his own expense. Through his session, Keith became aware of this pattern, and he learned the importance of setting boundaries and allowing others to face their own challenges. The stories we've explored so far highlight how past lives and soul contracts can impact our romantic relationships, and how self-love is just crucial for healthy connections. But what about the relationships we have with our parents? Let's dive into some experiences that shed light on navigating the complexities of parent-child dynamics, especially when those relationships are strained. So Serena's childhood was marred by abusive parents, and her session revealed that she chose these challenging parents to test her strength and her ability to stay true to herself. It's a reminder that even in the face of darkness, we have the capacity to choose love and maintain our inner light. Jennifer's story teaches us about self-nurturing. She grew up with an emotionally distant mother, leaving her feeling neglected and unloved. Through her regression, Jennifer learned that the nurturing she longed for needed to come from within herself. She also developed a deeper understanding of her mother's limitations and the importance of accepting people for who they are, even if their capacity for emotional expression differs from our own. Deanna faced challenges with her aging father, who resisted seeking medical help for his declining health. Her session offered this powerful lesson in acceptance and letting go. She realized that her father's choices were ultimately his own, and that she could best support him by offering love and compassion, without judgment or attempts to control his decisions. Colleen's story highlights the value of letting go and allowing loved ones to find their own way. So her younger sister had tragically died by suicide, and this experience left Colleen with immense guilt and this need to fix and control others. Her session helped her recognize this pattern and embrace the wisdom of letting go, trusting that others have their own paths to walk, even if those paths include pain and mistakes. Now we'll explore stories that illustrate the profound impact of near-death experiences. These first-hand accounts offer this glimpse into the realm beyond our physical existence and the transformative insights that can emerge from these extraordinary events. Deborah, a survivor of sexual assault, carried the scars of that experience for years. Her near-death experience occurred years later, and it brought unexpected healing and understanding. During her session, she recalled being in this dark void after the assault, feeling completely lost and alone. And suddenly this brilliant light appeared, and she felt this sense of overwhelming peace. She was told that she had been given a choice, to stay or return to her body, and she chose to return. And in that moment, she realized that her soul had chosen to experience this trauma, to learn about compassion and forgiveness. This realization enabled her to release the pain and anger she had carried for so long, and embrace her path as a healer. Laura was present at a terrorist attack and emerged physically unscathed, but deeply shaken. Her near-death experience and the subsequent regression allowed her to view the event from this higher perspective. She realized that her presence there wasn't random. Instead, it was part of this larger tapestry of experiences, intended to awaken compassion and empathy in those involved, both directly and indirectly. This understanding helped her to find meaning amidst the tragedy, and to embrace her own life with renewed purpose. Tiffany's near-death experience happened during a car accident, leaving lasting physical and emotional trauma. During her session, she remembered floating above her body, observing the scene with this sense of detachment, and she felt this comforting presence beside her. It was her grandmother who had passed away years before, and her grandmother helped her process the trauma of the accident and connect with the love and support that surrounded her, even amidst the chaos. This experience helped Tiffany release the fear and anxiety that had lingered since the accident and embrace her life with this newfound appreciation for every moment. Zola had this profound near-death experience, where she journeyed through this tunnel of light and encountered these beings of pure love and wisdom. These beings shared insights about the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of living a purposeful and compassionate life. During her session, Zola was able to reconnect with these beings and receive further guidance about her soul's journey. This experience deepened her spiritual understanding and helped her approach life with this renewed sense of purpose and connection to something greater. Dana's near-death experiences occurred during periods of serious illness, bringing her face to face with her own mortality. During her sessions, she was able to tap into her body's natural healing abilities and connect with her spiritual guides for support. She realized that even though her physical body was fragile, her spirit was strong and resilient. This newfound understanding allowed her to approach her health challenges with empowerment and trust in the wisdom of her body and soul. Nora had been searching for a way to recapture the profound peace and interconnectedness she experienced during her near-death experience, and through her regression, she was able to access that state once again and learn techniques for returning to it at will. This newfound ability brought her immense joy and allowed her to integrate the wisdom from her near-death experience into her daily life. Judy, who tragically lost her husband in an accident, found solace in the memory of her near-death experience during that same accident. She had felt her deceased father's presence beside her, offering comfort and encouragement. In her session, she was able to connect with her father's soul and receive further guidance as she navigated her grief and adjusted to life without her husband. This experience helped Judy find meaning in her loss and move forward, honoring her husband's memory while embracing the possibilities of her own life. Kai, who faced multiple near-death experiences due to chronic illness, emerged from each experience with a deeper understanding of her own strength and resilience. Her sessions helped her process the trauma of these events and connect with the spiritual guidance available to her. She realized that her challenges weren't random, but rather part of a greater plan for her growth and evolution. This understanding brought her peace and acceptance, allowing her to approach her health challenges with grace and trust in the wisdom of the universe. Mary's story emphasizes the importance of self-love. She carried this heavy burden of guilt, believing she'd failed her mother, who endured a difficult life marked by abuse and feelings of unworthiness. Mary tried to fill her mother's emotional void, but realized through her regression that she could never truly succeed. Her mother's emptiness stemmed from these deep-seated feelings of inadequacy. This realization freed Mary from her guilt and highlighted the significance of prioritizing self-love. Natasha's story offers this raw look at the impact of abuse and the power of reclaiming our strength. Having suffered abuse as a child, she wanted to understand why she'd chosen such a challenging path. Through regression, she discovered that her soul chose these experiences to catalyze her awakening and evolution. She also found it possible to connect with and forgive the souls of her abusers, recognizing their pain and limitations. This act of forgiveness brought immense healing and allowed her to move forward with this renewed sense of purpose and self-worth. Valentina's story delves into the intricacies of connection and disconnection in relationships. She felt this disconnect from her mother, tracing it back to an incident from early childhood where her mother became angry and physically hurt her. This event had created this deep sense of insecurity and this tendency to withdraw for protection. It underscores how early childhood experiences can shape our relational patterns later in life. Valentina's journey also emphasized the power of understanding and forgiveness. Through exploring past lives, she gained a deeper understanding of her mother's pain and limitations, enabling her to let go of resentment and move towards a more compassionate and connected relationship. Marie's experience provides this valuable lesson in self-love and boundaries within relationships. Feeling disconnected from her loved ones, particularly her son, she constantly attempted to control and manipulate them to meet her emotional needs. Her session revealed that this need for control stemmed from a lack of self-love and fear of rejection. She came to realize that by nurturing herself and fulfilling her own needs, she could release the need to control others and create more genuine and fulfilling connections. It's a powerful reminder that authentic connection starts with a healthy and loving relationship with ourselves. Kelly's story emphasizes unconditional love and forgiveness, even in the face of, unimaginable hardship. Her regression took her back to a past life as Joseph, a young Jewish boy sent to a concentration camp during World War II. Despite the horrific circumstances, Joseph maintained his inner peace and offered comfort to others. He even extended this silent blessing to the guard who was about to send him to his death, acknowledging the guard's own pain and helplessness. This act of profound compassion and forgiveness exemplifies the boundless capacity of the human spirit to choose love even in the darkest moments. Erin's journey teaches us about accepting limitations and finding purpose, in unexpected places. She had battled this debilitating chronic illness since childhood and felt this really strong drive to achieve and make a significant contribution to the world. However, her session revealed that her illness might have been, part of her soul's plan, a catalyst for her to kind of turn inward and cultivate inner peace. This shift in perspective enabled her to let go of the need for external validation and find fulfillment as simply being present, in each moment. David's story suggests that sometimes our souls choose to kind of step back from the limelight, to support others in this less visible role. David was this talented musician, and he was frustrated by his lack of recognition. And he wondered why he always seemed to be in this backup position, supporting other people's dreams instead of pursuing his own. His session revealed that he may have chosen this path to learn humility and experience the joy of serving others without needing ego gratification. It reminds us that true fulfillment can come from, aligning with our soul's purpose, even if that purpose doesn't lead to fame or fortune. So now let's shift our focus to the later stages of life and explore how individuals navigate the challenges of aging and prepare for death. Gal's story offers this unique perspective on Alzheimer's disease. She was diagnosed with this condition, and she struggled with the changes it brought. However, her session led to this profound shift in perspective. She came to view her Alzheimer's not as a punishment or a failure, but as a natural part of her soul's journey. It presented this opportunity to surrender to the flow of life and release the need for control. Frauke's experience with her father's Alzheimer's disease brought this really profound understanding of forgiveness and the power of family healing. As her father's condition worsened, old family conflicts resurfaced, causing pain and tension. Through her session, Frauke connected with her father on this soul level and gained this new understanding of his experience. She realized that despite his cognitive decline, his soul remained vibrant. She also forgave her siblings for past hurts, understanding they too were on their own journeys. This act of forgiveness brought peace and unity to the family, allowing them to cherish the time they had left with their father and create more loving relationships with one another. Jacqueline was a successful psychologist nearing retirement, and she felt this sense of unease, about this upcoming chapter. She wondered about her identity without her professional role and how she would spend her time. Her session revealed a past life where she lived this simple and fulfilling life as a farmer's wife. And this experience helped Jacqueline embrace the beauty of ordinary life and find contentment in everyday tasks. It reminded her that true happiness doesn't rely on external achievements, but comes from this deep connection to the present moment and the simple joys of living, Stan's story provides this glimpse into the transition from life to death. Facing his own mortality, Stan carried regret for past actions he believed had harmed others. During his session, he revisited a past life where, as an indigenous elder, he had made choices that resulted in the loss of many lives. And as he lay dying in that life, he was consumed with guilt and grief. However, as he transitioned to the other side, he was met with unconditional love and acceptance. This experience brought Stan comfort and helped him release his regrets, knowing that he too would be welcomed with love and understanding when his time came. These stories offer this really unique lens through which to view the later stages of life. They remind us that aging and death are not endings, but transitions. They offer hope and comfort in the face of our fears, reminding us that regardless of our regrets, we are ultimately held in the loving embrace of the universe. What an incredible journey we've taken today, through Wisdom of Souls. These stories invite us to consider that we are more than just our physical bodies. We are eternal souls on this path of growth and evolution. They encourage us to reflect on the choices we make, the relationships we build, and the lessons we learn throughout our lives. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of life and the wisdom that resides within us all.